This is an Intro to Modern Assyrian, Lesson 11. So for this lesson, we're going to take a break from some of the more grammar-intensive ones I've been doing and learn some more practical words. So this lesson's on questions, specifically on question words and also how to form questions. So first I'm going to go over some of the grammar and pronunciation of questions. So the word order is not changed when you're asking questions. Questions are indicated by a change in intonation or the use of question words. The intonation is a little bit complex, but generally when you're asking a question you should raise your intonation somewhere near the beginning, and then for longer questions it gets a little bit more complex. My best advice to you would just be to listen to the way that people ask questions and try to replicate that as best you can. Question words usually come at the beginning of the sentence, but when the subject isn't dropped, the question word will come immediately after that. So it's between the subject and the verb. And then if you go back through some of the older lessons, you'll notice that a lot of the times when you add in the subject to use emphasis, you put it at the beginning. So now I'm going to go over some of the more common question words and also give some example questions. So first is mu. Mu. This means what, and you might also hear mut or mudi. Mut, mudi. Again, mu is probably the more common one. So one example question would be mu bi khalat. Mu bi khalat. This means what are you eating? You singular. Mu bi khalat. A special note on this, when mu is used with the present conjugations of to be, the two words are run together. So some of the more common examples of this would be muile, muile, muila, muila, muina, muina, and those respectively mean what is it for a masculine object, what is it feminine, and what are they. Next is mut. Mut. Should remember that this also means what, but it's more commonly used to mean which. So an example would be mut betale. Mut betale. Should be which house is it? Mut betale. Mai. Mai. This means who, and you'll also hear mani. Mani. So an example would be maile, maile, maila, maila, which basically means who is it, or in the first one is who is he, and the second would be who is she. Maile, maila. Ika, ika. This means where. Ika. So an example question would be Ika brichshet. Ika brichshet means where are you going? Ika brichshet. Iman. Iman. This means when. Iman. So the simplest example using iman would be imanile. Imanile. Imanila. Imanila. Just means when is it, first in the masculine then in the feminine. Imanile, imanila. Qamu, qamu. This means why, and this is a pretty good standalone question. You can just ask why. Qamu, qamu. Kima, kima. This means how much. Kima. Aha kemaile, aha kemaile, aha kemaila, aha kemaila. This means how much is this, first masculine then feminine. So this would be like if you're asking how much something costs in a store or something, you would say aha kemaile or aha kemaila. Kemadane, kemadane. This means how many, so you use it for things that are countable. Kemadane. So an example would be Kemadane mashine tamana. که معدن ماشینت آمانه. This means how many cars are there. که معدن ماشینت آمانه. که معدن ماشینت آمانه. And you notice the E and Ina can be dropped. Bina. Bina. So this is a really useful word. You say it when somebody calls you or if somebody's addressing you and you sort of respond back to Bina. The closest English equivalent I've ever heard somebody use for it would be like if somebody's calling for you and you'd say, yes? That's not an exact meaning for it, but that's the closest that we would have in English. So you use it, it's a polite way of responding to someone who's just addressed you. Bina. Bina. So for the vocabulary this time, I'm going to give you here and there. I used one of these in the lesson already, but haven't explained it yet. And they're both really useful words. Lacha. Lacha means here. Lacha. Tomo. Tomo means there. Tomo. And then just a note on these can only be used to refer to a location. So like here as in this place and there as in that place, but you can't use it in any of the other ways that we use these words in English. It's only to talk about location. So that's the end of this lesson. Hopefully it all made sense. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer. And thanks for watching. Merci Basime.